Talk about young shakes. Chicago 2 represent. Just change. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never.
All right.
Hello, this is Lacy L Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to Chat with HBCU Champions, Season 2, Episode 10, featuring head coach Nick Askew from Howard University, whose team won the Northeastern Conference Swimming and Diving Championship.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Coach, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lacy. Glad to be here, man. Looking forward to having a great chat. This team is phenomenal, and we had a spectacular season.
Okay, all right. Well, please tell us about yourself, including your coaching experience.
Oh man, how much time do we have? I am Nick Askew. I'm the director and head coach of Howard University men's and women's swimming and diving team, as well as tennis. I've been coaching, man, for decades on decades. I started coaching way back when I was in high school. Got a chance to work with some of the professionals and the coaches there and the different clinics, and really loved the interaction and the relationships, and continue that on through college, as well as competed through college at Howard University as a Division I swimmer and a Division I tennis player. And then just after graduation, continued on. Thought I was going to follow the career path of going into medicine, but life had a way of speaking to me, and the good Lord directed me into the path of coaching, and I've been doing that ever since. So I'm here now.
Okay. All right. So is this your first championship?
Yes, that's correct. This is my very first championship at the collegiate level.
Okay. And has Howard won a swimming and diving championship before?
So, that's a great question. Back in the early 90s, 80s, 70s, and further back, we used to have what was called Black National Championships, where there were several HBCUs that had swimming and diving programs, and Howard was the conference winner during that time. They also competed in the CIAA championships. I believe that was in the 70s. And then there was the Tri-State Conference Championships in the late 80s that the university and the men were the champions of during that time. So we haven't won one in over three decades. So we were glad that our time, had finally come, and we were able to bring home the title.
Okay, all right, sweet. Well, please tell us about your team. Who were your key athletes, and what were some of their accomplishments?
Yeah, so we coach both the men's and the women's program, and the team that won the championship was the men's team. But I always have to mention our ladies. Our ladies were phenomenal. They went from 7th place the previous year to 4th place. That's 3 jumps in just 1 year. And there's no doubt in my mind, it's not a matter of if they can win a championship in the next couple of years, but a matter of when, because they're super hungry. And I'm thrilled at the work that they're doing as a team, and I'm excited about the recruits that are coming in that are going to help add into some spaces where we definitely could feel their impact immediately. Our men's team, they were runners up in the previous championship, in the 2022 championship, and we were super excited about that placement, but everyone was left unfulfilled, super hungry, like, no, we want more, we see the pathway and we can do it. And that's what led to us having an amazing season this year and capturing the title. And that was absolutely led by a group of our seniors, Miles Simon from Atlanta, Georgia, Mark Anthony Beckles from Chaguanas, Trinidad and Tobago. We also had Miguel Davis Jr. from the Washington, D.C. area, who decided to take a 5th year. He decided to come back and use his last year of eligibility to help the team elevate to winning the conference title. And so many other ones. Luke Kennedy Thompson from Nassau, Bahamas was a major point scorer, major impact player, as a captain, as a leader on our team. And yeah, that group of seniors, man, they were something special. And a lot of articles have been written, and one of the favorite headlines I hold on to is "Season of Destiny," because it truly felt just like that.
Okay. All right. That's cool. I mean, it sounds great. Those guys came back. It shows a lot when someone thinks about the team over themselves.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And we're a team first program. We have a saying within the program is everybody on this team has one job, and that's to make the team better. So every decision we make, every move we make, we're keeping that in mind at all times.
Okay. Okay. So, can you tell us a bit more for those of us who are not as knowledgeable about swimming and diving? What are the main events and how is a swimming meet conducted?
Yeah, so there's a couple different formats. We break it down into where we have the conference championship. So every event that's on that we're capable of swimming at the NCAA level is raced at the conference championships. During the season, we have more head-to-head meets, and those are called dual meets. And we decide what format that's going to be based on where we are in the year, what we want to see out of our swimmers, and what's going to be the most competitive amongst the two different teams. So you have the different strokes: butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. Then you also have events that include all four strokes all at once, and that's called the individual medley. Then you have what's called the designation between sprint and distance events. So sprint is to splash and dash, and then the distance events are that's the long haul. You've got to be able to endure that entire length of the race, and that could be as much as a mile to 1,000 yards, or 500 yards is what we consider distance. And then everyone's favorite, the relays, where we put four swimmers on a relay against the other four swimmers for the other teams, and we just duke it out. And usually, the way it works is you get points for placement. So if you place first, you get the most amount of points. Second, third, fourth, all the way down the line, and whoever has the most amount of points accumulated at the end of the meet will be deemed as the winner or the conference champion.
Okay. So, do they incorporate diving at the same event, or is it just primarily swimming?
Yes, so I'm so glad you added that to it. Yes, diving is 100% a part of each of those types of events. The diving events are separate, but the point total goes towards the team. Therefore, that's why we're deemed as a swimming and diving team. So the dive, you're awarded a score after every dive, and whoever has the highest amount of points from that score wins the dive event. And just like the individual swim events, those points go towards the team total.
Okay.
And with diving, you have two different um, uh, heights that we compete in, which is the 1 meter dive and the 3 meter dive.
Okay. Now, are the dives conducted in a different pool, or do they do everything in one pool?
Depends on the facility. Here at the Burr, we have one pool that we have to convert from swimming lanes to a diving well area. So when the diving is being conducted, all swimming is paused, and then the diving is conducted. And then there are other pools that actually have its own separate diving well, and we still stop during that time or pause during that time to watch the divers and support them.
Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that in the facilities where it's just one, then you have to do the diving first in order so that you could put the lanes in afterwards, right?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, because the lanes go in and out pretty easily. Takes no more than about 2 or 3 minutes to be able to convert the lanes over to open it up for diving space.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
our divers are pretty good, so they don't need that much space. They practice diving into really small spaces, similar to the size of a hula hoop. So they're very well skilled.
Okay.
Not like me. If I go off the board, there's no telling where I might land.
Oh man. So tell us about your conference and the competition that you faced this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're part of the Northeast Conference. Teams like Central Connecticut State, Sacred Heart, St. Francis, Long Island University, just to name a few. Uh, Really well balanced conference. It's kind of any team's opportunity to win any given year, just depending on how well they're doing, and most especially, we have to factor in injuries and illness. So the healthiest team is typically the strongest team going into conference championships, and it's really exciting to be a part of something like that because there's no one team that's just run away with the title every single year. So it's up for grabs, and that makes it really cool between the teams to see how well they can build their team up to have an opportunity to win the title at the end of the season.
Okay. So were there instances where you weren't able to utilize pools since we're still in COVID and in the pandemic? Were there instances where that became an issue?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when during the pandemic, the university decided that it was not going to open up whatsoever. We went 100% virtual. There were a few teams that were able to come back towards the spring, but our team wasn't selected to come back. So we went an entire year without being able to train as a team, be together as a team. Some of our swimmers and divers didn't even touch water during that period of time, and that was scary. And we lost some of our athletes because of that. They did not return. It was really damaging. But I think all in all, we managed it as best we could given all of the circumstances. We came back the following year really hungry, with a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because we got to see all the other teams training and competing, and we couldn't. And we felt like we should have been included, but we understood why we weren't included. It was for the safety and wellness of everyone, and but we use that 100% as motivation to be the best that we could be, and to take full advantage of all the time and space that we had in our training leading up to the conference championship in 2022. And then we were so close and we did so well. We raised the bar, and that's really kind of what springboarded us into the 2022-2023 season.
Okay. Okay. Well, tell us about your postseason. Did winning conference give you an automatic berth into the NCAA's?
No, swimming doesn't operate like that. Similar to track, you got to earn it. You have to earn. Every individual has to earn their opportunity to go in by time. So your fastest times are what qualify you for the NCAA tournament or the NCAA swimming and diving championships, and they have standards that they post at the beginning of every season. And so there's two ways to qualify. You can get an A qualifying time, which is the fastest time. If you do that time or faster, you're automatically in. And then they have what's called B standards. If you get a B standard, then you would be in that selection pool of the fastest times in order to fill up all the slots, which is typically somewhere around 30 for each individual event for the championships. We did have an individual that had two B standards in Miles Simon from Atlanta, Georgia. I was really, really close to making the cut. He just missed. I think he was at 48, and the cut was 30. But then we had the opportunity to go to the National Invitational Championship, which is very similar to the NIT for basketball. So those that were on the bubble or extremely close because they got those B standards were able to go to a national competition, which was held in Elkhart, Indiana, and we got a chance to still be on the national stage, and we did really, really well. We broke more school records there. We improved times as well across some of our swims, and was definitely showed really well against some of the other big schools that we typically don't see because they're on the West Coast or down south or even Midwest.
Okay. So, because I'm a track guy, I'm a track and field coach.
Okay.
Well, I used to be one. I'm retired at this particular point. But so do swimmers have a similar type of progression where they peak at a, they seem to get their best times at the end of the year or against certain competitions or anything like that?
Yeah, I think the parallels there are parallels between the two different disciplines of sports, and for us we call it periodization. So what we're doing throughout the season is we're loading all the way through, and then we start to what we call taper or deload right before the most important championship or most important competitions, which is usually championships or nationals. So we're trying to do as much work as we possibly can, get as stronger as we possibly can, and then when we get to that stage, we taper, which basically means we get a lot more rest. That way, we can reap the benefits of our bodies being, super fresh, but still very powerful, very springy, and explosive because of all the loading that we did throughout the season.
Okay. So is weightlifting involved in swimming or? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you take a look at the most elite swimmers on the planet, man, you would think that they played, contact sports. You take a look at like Nathan Adrian or Caleb Dressel or Simone Manuel, Katie Ledecky. All of those, they're strong, bro. They're in the weight room. They're doing all kinds of dry land. They're working on their bodies, and then they're putting in the hard yards in the pool as well. The evolution of the sport has been just crazy to see how now it's leaning more and more towards a fully athletic individual versus someone who's just lean and has had a lot of pool time. So it's that's why we're continuing to see so many times drop with the world records and the Olympics, at the Olympics, the world championships, etc.
Okay. Okay. So I am going to have to, at some point, I'm going to have to get back on schedule with my questions. But I mean, like I said, I don't usually get a swimming and diving coach
Yeah.
to interview. In fact, you're the first.
Hey, love it. Listen. I don't. I'd love to see who's going to follow. Behind us, we've kind of blown up the pathway. We've opened it up for a ton, but it's going to be a hard act to follow.
Right, right. Because I mean, I have to admit, I love that Terrence Howard movie.
Yeah.
It came out. It was amazing,
Yeah.
and it was inspiring. And I don't know if the sport for, let's say, for black programs picked up or not, or if there was more of an influx of black swimmers who came in or not. I know you mentioned some of your swimmers come from the Caribbean area,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that's real big down there. But
Yeah.
for Americans, I mean, I know we love getting in the pool, as far as competition though, that's
Yeah.
another thing.
Yeah, I mean the movie definitely assisted with more individuals seeing themselves in that space, and that's been one of the biggest problems. I mean, let's call it for what it is. The country has had a very ugly history with blacks and water, and there's so many things that should not have ever happened, but those there are movements and there are things that are going to help increase and make it better for blacks and minorities being able to have access to pools and competitive teams. We have stars like Cullen Jones and Maritza Maria McClendon and Simone Manuel who are leading the charge. And we're seeing them competing and winning at the highest level. And then you have us at Howard University as a part of the only HBCU that has a swimming and diving program winning conference championships. You put all of that together, you combine it. I have no doubt if you talk to any of the ones that I just named, they've seen the movie Pride with Terrence Howard, which was based on true events on the life of Hall of Fame coach Jim Ellis for the Philadelphia Department of Recreation, who has inspired and coached so many different swimmers of color, especially. and is still continuing to do that to this day. As a matter of fact, several of them swim for us at Howard, both currently and in the past. And we have future swimmers that we're hoping that will also choose to come to Howard from this program. So um, there's a lot that's being done, but there's so much more. And the first thing starts with getting more African Americans learning how to swim, because it is a public health crisis where only 65% of African Americans have limited or no swimming ability, and that we drown at 4 times the rate of our white counterparts. That's something that we can do something about. And in my opinion, it starts with legislation. We have to break the cycle. We've got to take it to the schools and be able to provide that opportunity for blacks and minorities to learn how to swim, because it's a life-saving skill. And then where it goes after that, it's just opportunities and being able to take advantage of those.
Yeah, I'm in that high percentage who cannot swim.
You are now. But when
Yeah.
we come back and have this conversation next year, right? I'm gonna hold you to that, ladies. I'm serious. We have to be. We got to be the ones who are breaking that cycle, and we've got to be courageous enough to do it, not just to lean into the myth that blacks don't swim. That's a myth, and that's something we can do something about.
Right. Well, I mean, I can move around. I actually can move around under the water. My
Okay.
biggest problem has always been floating.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I could not float. I had no problem holding my breath and doing everything else under.
Yeah.
But as far as on top, the octopus was about the only thing I could ever do.
And that's okay, because there are a lot of people who can't float, but that doesn't mean that you can't swim, right? For those who can naturally float, that's great. For those that can't, all you have to do is continue to relax and learn how to tread water. That way you can stay atop.
And that's what I'll try to do. I just have to make sure I can access the right pool with the right instructor, because I am next to a military base that I have access to.
Okay.
So it won't be as much of a problem as someone else might have.
There's the start. There's the start.
Right.
And then you'll spread the word, and it'll be inspiring to the next person.
Right.
Love it.
I said I'm still off the path, off my normal path. I remember a few Olympiads ago, and I'm trying. It might even been before before Michael Phelps became a thing. That there
Okay.
was a lot of talk about the swimwear and the design of the swimwear, because I remember there being talk of bans, and you can't wear this brand at the Olympics, you can't wear that brand at the Olympics because it gives you an advantage. Can you kind of talk about that? I know, like I said, I know how it kind of works in track and field.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anybody talking about banning uniforms in track and field, but I
Yeah.
have in swimming. And it just, I didn't understand that, especially, well, I guess the men can wear, covering over the torso as well. But can you explain some of that?
Yeah, so I forget the years, but there was a time where the technology was advancing, and they have these really expensive suits. The technology basically allows the swimsuit to not absorb water, and the swimsuit would also increase buoyancy. So that gave an advantage based on your gear. And for I think one Olympic cycle, I don't think it was 2 full Olympic cycles, that was being used, and they shattered literally every world record at that Olympics. And people went back and it's like, you know what, that's good, but that's more of the suit doing the work than the actual swimmers doing the work. So they banned those suits, and they were called the super suits, where people could wear, it's almost a full body suit from the wrist all the way through the arms, chest, shoulders, all the way down the torso, all the way down to the ankles. And males and females were wearing those suits. And we went back and we felt like that. Well, not we, but they went back, and I agree, and investigated and said, it made the swims more about the suit than it did about the individual that was competing, and felt like that was not doing a service to the sport. So they banned the ability to wear a full bodysuit for the males, and then they put parameters on the sizing for females. Obviously, there's a difference in the amount of coverage necessary. So that's what that was about. And I mean, we definitely see that in all the other sports, of making sure that the technology is not taking away from the sport. In how there are standards for manufacturing a baseball or a baseball bat. The same thing for football or even track cleats, right? There's different track competitions you go in to, and even in football, where you can only wear a certain type of spikes, for the competition that you're in, and things like that. So making it again about the athlete and less about the gear or the technology of the gear.
Okay. Okay. So I said I did not. I heard some of it. I just never understood, how there could be that much engineering for apparel.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for clarifying that.
absolutely.
Uh, what honors did you win this year?
Oh, that's the worst question ever. As thrilled as I am to win, the different honors, I'm a worker bee. I just go to work every single day and try to do my best, and I'm very humbled to be chosen. And but I don't, my parents raised me in a way. They're like, look, don't let any of the things go to your head. You're thankful, you're grateful for the recognitions, but at the end of the day, you've got to keep doing the job that you're assigned to do, and that's the mentality I've always had. But this year has been phenomenal. At the conference championship, we won Coach of the Year, Conference Coaching Staff of the Year on both sides, the men's side and the women's side. So along with me was Dr. Miriam Lynch, Salim King, Jasmine Payne, Courtney Miller, and then of course we include in our coaching staff our team manager Amon Ferguson, with an O, not an A, as part of our coaching staff. And then I was also at our department awards, our athletic department awards. I had co-coach of the year, alongside basketball coach Kenneth Blakeney, which was super cool. We've been really supporting each other all through the year and watching each other's successes and even failures, and keeping each other encouraged. So that was really special to be on stage with him sharing that award. And then on the national side, the Drake Hero Award, which is given to a person that's impacting collegiate sports, for the greater good. So that was really thrilling to be honored by such a prestigious organization, just 2 weeks ago, and given that award. So yeah, and again, for me, I'm just the guy who's out in front, and I know that none of these things would have come without just an amazing support group, between the coaches and the administration, the university, my family. So I share these awards with all of them.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations to you and your staff for the awards that you received this year, and we're definitely happy for you.
Thank you.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, what do you look for in prospects, and can you tell us about any of your signees?
Yeah. So on for us, we're pretty clear. Yeah, we're a hardworking team. We're an iron sharpens iron team, and the number one thing is academics first. The number two is their athletic performance, and we have to know from a character quality that they're mature enough to always keep those in that order, to make sure that they have their priorities in order. And then number three can be anything else. Whether it's video games. We had a young man that was a part of our conference championship team this year, who also won the esports championship. So the video gaming competition that was held. just the very next day after we won the conference championship. So, but he understood that the priorities, and we worked really well together to make sure that we kept everything in alignment. So those are the types of things I'm looking for in our recruits and in our current swimmers and divers, is that they're always keeping their priorities in order. They have a high character quality traits, honesty, integrity, humility, and just that worker like mentality, that they understand that they have to put in the work, no matter how talented they are. Give you a prime example. Miles Simon came in, and he wasn't highly recruited at all from most teams across the country, but we knew he came from a really good program with City of Atlanta Dolphins, coached by Tommy Jackson. Coach Tommy vouched for him, said he's a super hard worker. We got a chance to kind of see him working and hear more about it, and we knew that he was going to have a really big progression once he got to college. And when he got here, he took advantage of every working opportunity that he could. He did all the workouts that we laid out for him, and then he did extra because he wanted it that bad to be, to continue to do to be great. Then this year he was crowned the conference athlete of the year, because of his swim performances, and broke records, both conference records and school records, in every event he swam at conference championships. So what's beautiful is that he does it with extreme integrity, and he leads by example. So he's not putting in anybody's face. He's got people that are following in his footsteps because they see what that work can do, and they're excited about seeing themselves be as great as they can potentially be because of doing the work. So those are the things we look for the most, in our student athletes as a part of our program.
Okay. Well, now Howard, of course, does have a reputation for its programs on the academic side, especially. Tell us a bit about the institution and what are some of the major programs there, and what majors do your athletes tend to take?
Wow. So Howard is the Mecca. Let's start there. It's an institution of Black excellence, and there are so many individuals here that come from so many different places, especially from the African diaspora, that land here to be surrounded in a safe space to promote their higher education, to do great things. In our program, we have almost every single major. The major that we see the most is in the sciences, so biology, chemistry, sports medicine. We have a lot of STEM student athletes a part of our program, so chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. We have math majors. We also have physics majors. We have a lot that are also business majors: marketing, finance, international business. We have history majors. As a matter of fact, one of our captains from our women's team, who was a Rhodes Scholar finalist this year, is graduating with a 4.0 summa cum laude in history this year. And she's going on to get her PhD at Princeton University starting in the fall. So, again, those are the type of individuals who have kept the priorities in line and have done extremely well, and falling on the behind in the footsteps of so many other greats that have been a part of this program and a part of Howard's rich history of developing individuals who are successful in almost every field. Any field you can name, you can come up with multiple Howard graduates that are within that field and are doing just incredibly special things.
Okay. Yeah, it's ironic because actually on my Instagram page, I posted I think it was a Tony Award winning performance by Debbie Allen.
Yes.
And this was like 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I know her sister Felicia Rashad
Yeah.
is there teaching, I believe.
Yes,
And she was also one of the ones instrumental in the great late Chad Boseman's career.
that's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And
So now the irony of that is the school has been named the Chadwick Boseman College of Fine Arts, and Felicia Rashard is the dean of that school now. And so you're walking up and down the halls or across the yard, passing by Felicia Rashad as one of the most amazing actresses of all time. Who's still portraying incredible character roles. Just recently in the Creed series, Creed 3 is out, Creed 2, Creed 1, and then of course growing up, I always knew her as Claire Huxtable. So it's pretty amazing to just walk by casually, and see stars like that. And just last week, Vice President Kamala Harris was on campus, and she's a Howard graduate. Ta-Nehisi Coates, Toni Morrison, the list goes on and on and on, of the greats. And we're so happy to see this next generation, or these new generations, continuing to go out, and they're making names for themselves and making waves, in the industries that they're in.
right. Okay. All right. Well, tell us about the support that you receive from your department, the institution, and the Bison fans.
Yeah, I always have to go back to the history. When I first took over the program, prior to that, years prior to that, I was one of the strongest advocates for canceling the program because I did not think that the department or the university was supporting it. We saw the teams in they had academic issues. They were underperforming. There was very little performance on the swim and dive side as well. And to me, it was a disservice. Why have it if you're not going to be able to support these young student athletes in trying to be as great as they possibly can be? And the sad part was when they came in, they didn't know that it wasn't as supported as it was. They came in with bright eyes and bushy tails, thinking that they were going to develop and get better. And then when they got here, it was not supported. So I was one of the loudest, saying that something has to give, and if you're not going to support it, you need to cancel it. And I was approached by the athletic director at the time and saying, "Listen, we do want to support it, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hire a full-time coach, which would be the first time in program history that they have had a full-time coach." And he asked if I would be interested. So I had to take a step back, like, wait. You remember? I was the one saying that. Okay, well, let's talk. And lo and behold, I got the opportunity to come back and coach it, and I think that was the first level of support that was truly just, you know, the thing that the team needed. Even if it wasn't me, the team needed a full-time coach, somebody that was going to be there, and be willing to roll up their sleeves, and try to move the needle. The next thing was putting together a plan, and the things that I continually ask for to support the team. The department and the administration with leadership, Dr. Frederick, Carrie Davis as the athletic director, have continued to supply those needs, increment, in different, each year being able to supply more and more and more towards our progress and getting the things that, we could be comparable to all the other mid-major swimming and dive programs that are out there. So it's been really, really good to have that type of support from our department and our administration. And then from the outside support, our parents, our fans, who at first didn't know anything about swimming whatsoever. They didn't know the difference between the doggy paddle and the butterfly. And now they're coming to every single home meet, and away meets. We have a fan base that also travels to our away competitions. It's crazy to see at our facility in our natatorium, a standing room only, 500, 600 plus people there to watch a swim meet on the campus of an HBCU. and where most of the people in the stands are black and brown. That, you can't duplicate that anywhere else right now. And it's just amazing to see that level of support. The big thing that we're continuing to ask for is the financial support from corporations and individuals to be able to help us with making sure that we're not a tremendous financial burden on the university, which is what all programs have to do, especially if you're not a Power Five institution. You have to figure out ways to fundraise to support the needs of the student athletes, to make sure that they're given everything that they can, that they need in order to be to put themselves on a pathway to success. So, those are the big things. We have a fundraising link that's on our hubison.com website. When you go to swim and dive, you click on it. 3 clicks later, you've made a financial contribution to the team that can help support, whether it be snacks or whether it be towards the training trip or equipment or the capital campaign. So we're very grateful, and we've seen that increase. But we're definitely in need of a lot more support from individuals and businesses and corporations to help us keep moving forward.
Okay. So I might definitely have to contact you later
Okay.
to talk about some of the costs associated with that, because my alma mater has an Olympic, I think an Olympic standard pool
Okay.
in Kentucky State University,
Okay.
and it's had that pool for for a very long time. I mean, with the diving boards and all,
Yeah. Yeah.
but never had a program.
Mm.
And so, you know, maybe if I can talk to the correct person,
Yeah.
something might happen, because sort of like what happened to you, getting that position there, happened to me a long time ago when I approached them about placing our um, very deserved athletes, or nominating them for various halls of fame at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I sent the information to the athletic director, to the SID at the time, and and all of a sudden I get an email back. Oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Won't you do it? I'm sitting there like, well, I don't get paid by you guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I took the challenge, and quite a few of our people. I'm still working today trying to get people in the national and state halls of fame, and have been successful in getting some of our bigger name athletes in some of the halls that they should have been in a long time ago. And
Right.
so, it is good when you do have certain administrations, or whether it's the athletic administration or the university administration, who might get tired of hearing people's mouths from time to time and be like, okay, you want to challenge us? Well, we're going to challenge you.
Yeah. 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 Totally agree. Totally understand. 100%. I mean, with that, the biggest thing with thinking about any HBCU or any program for that matter, bringing back their swim and dive team or starting a swim dive team, you've got to come with a proposal. Most administrations aren't looking for another sport that's going to take away resources or be a financial strain. So similar to us, we were at no point at Howard going to add another sport because resource wise and financial wise, we there would be no way to add a new sport. However, look at the goodness of the Lord. Otis Ferguson, I think, had a conversation with Steph Curry when Steph Curry was here at the debut of a movie that he was promoting, and had a quick conversation. And 2 years later, Steph Curry is now financing the golf team completely. So now it's not a financial burden on the university. And I know that's a long shot to get one person or one organization to finance it, but we have to start thinking in those terms and not just say, hey, you should bring back your swim and dive program. It has to make sense. And for state institutions, it makes more sense because uh, state institutions offer in-state tuition, which means that they can attract student athletes, especially if I know that I can swim or dive at a state school, and I'm going to end up paying less overall than if I go to a private school or an out of state school. Even if I'm offered a scholarship, I can still likely be paying way less at the state school. So there is a way that it can get done, and I've had conversations with other ads and other really passionate supporters of trying to have more hbcus bring back their program. There's a pathway to do it, and I don't hold any of these things as secrets. I'm happy to have the conversation and say, listen, this is how we did it. Make it fit for you. And because we'd love to be able to see more hbcus have swimming and diving programs. It's lonely, being the only one here. We'd love for, a Morehouse or a Grambling or Alabama A&M to, have a swim and dive program, or Tennessee State, to go back to those rivalries that we had, so long ago. And what I also think about is the youth, those swimmers and divers who are desiring an HBCU education only have one choice. And unfortunately, we have a finite number of roster spots. So we know that we can't take in everybody. So it would be beautiful to have other choices. And I know that'll make me lose out in some of the recruiting battles, but I'm willing to take that on for the betterment of the sport and the betterment for our HBCUs and experience for our swimmers and divers.
Okay, definitely understand that. Yeah, definitely understand that. Well, who are some of the biggest influences in your career?
Wow. Man, I mean, first and foremost, my parents, my brothers, my coaches, Coach Larry Strickland, is a great mentor of mine, Newton Jackson, Roy Lewis, Mary Resbus was one of my very first coaches. Some of my educators, my teachers, Mr. Miller, Lynn Williams, um, and then people I've never met before that are big influences. Um, Muhammad Ali, Arthur Ashe, um, Roger Federer, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, the likes of that. Those have I've been able to either be around those individuals and absorb amazing amounts of knowledge, or take things from their lives that I think could help me in my pathway and my journey. And I'm just inspired by so many people, and so many of the things that they've been able to do and accomplish. And I just hope that one day I can be an inspiration to somebody else, in their pathway and their journey, just like these individuals have been in my life.
Okay. Okay. Well, now we've come to the part where we're about to wind down, and I want to give you an opportunity to provide shout outs to anyone, as many people as you want to recognize.
Okay, that's kind of a setup. There's well, oh man, the list is super long. Very first, it's got to be my wife, Christy Askew, my Howard sweetheart. Big shout out to her. The life of a coach is tough. I mean, long hours. You basically, as a coach, you adopt, all of your team members, and when they graduate, they still reach out to you, which is such a beautiful part of the relationship. So the phone goes off at all kinds of hours and all times of days, and my wife, she's 100% supportive because she knows how important it is to me, and she understands the value that it provides in other people's lives. So got to give it up to her. And uh, you know, coaches, your significant others, your partners, they endure a lot, just like the coach does themselves. Big shout out to our coaching staffs, both on my tennis side and on my swimming side. Zach Tobias, Jessica Josiah, phenomenal individuals who hit the ground running, this year with the tennis team, and So many great things are in store for that program. I'm sure we're going to be talking next year around this time because we're going to be looking to win the conference title on both the women's and men's side for on the tennis. And then, my swim side, again, Dr. Lynch, Salim King, Courtney Miller, Jasmine Payne, Amon Ferguson, Sid Williams. Big shout outs to them. Big shout outs to my teams. Oh my gosh, like have to give it up to them because at the end of the day, as a head coach and as director, I've got to be who I have to be for the team. And sometimes it is within my character, and sometimes it's not. But the good Lord has blessed me with the ability, to hopefully make some really good decisions and moments that have led to the progress of all these teams. But the teams have to endure it. They have to go through it. So I commend them and have to shout them out. They are amazing individuals, and I'm inspired by them. They truly have no idea how much I look at them and watch them and how they go about day-to-day life, and it keeps the fire burning for me. And then shout out to Howard in general, for being at the top of the game of having the only HBCU that has a swimming and diving program. That's we look at that as kind of being on the endangered species list, but Howard is doing every single thing it possibly can to make sure that it doesn't happen. That we're going to be able to survive and flourish and inspire and impact. So got to also shout out those in the field that are doing big work for water safety and drowning prevention. Diversity in Aquatics organization, USA Swimming Foundation, the No More Under initiative. Those organizations, those programs are doing tremendous jobs to promote, again, water safety and drowning prevention. So. But I'll stop there because I could keep going, as I should keep going, because there's so many more.
Okay. All right. Well, Coach, we want to thank you for participating in this chat. And we hope that you and your program continue to succeed, and we will follow your developments. And I also want to thank you, the viewers, for watching this episode of Chat with HBCU Champions. Please visit ricefamegroup.org for more information on our replays and more HBCU information in general. Please have a blessed week.
Yeah. Now I'm talking about young shakes. Chicago to represent. Just change. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lumped. For my city, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city, I ain't never been a chump. And if he thinking I'm a chump, watch him get his head lumped. For my city, cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much for supplying her touch. I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.